Ken Ermogena joined the Air Force just weeks after 9/11 and died just 1 week after Osama bin Laden was brought to justice. As a medical administrator, he helped his fellow soldiers and airmen hurt by roadside and suicide bombs, and earned 8 military awards in doing so. Sergeant Hermogino went to basic high school in Henderson, just like I did. He was killed in the mountains of Afghanistan on May 9th and was buried here in Boulder City less than a week ago. He was just 30. Marine Sergeant Frank Zeringer III, his commanding officer called him a Marine's Marine. That officer was not the first leader to recognize his incredible willpower. After Sergeant Zeringer decided to become a Marine, he ran around in a backpack full of rocks to get in shape for boot camp. And his baseball team at Worcester High School in Reno changed the name of the Hustle Award to the Frank Zeringer Award because to everyone who knew him, the two terms were synonymous. In everything he did, Sergeant Zeringer simply gave everything he had. On October 11th, in southwestern Afghanistan, he gave all. He was just 23. Army Specialist Brian Tabata was responsible for calling in helicopters, mortars, and artillery during firefights. It was a complex job, but he handled it like any soldier with discipline and determination, qualities he learned as a student at Shadow Ridge High School in Las Vegas. Specialist Tabata was a member of the renowned Screaming Eagles and earned 9 military awards and commendations. On February 27th, insurgents attacked his unit in Afghanistan. He was just 21. Army Sergeant Matthew Hennigan was always ahead of his time. He made his varsity wrestling team at Silverado High School when he was just As I said, Army Sergeant Matthew Hennigan was always ahead of his time. He made the varsity wrestling team just as just a freshman at Silverado High School. And like so many of his fellow soldiers, he couldn't wait to serve. He enlisted at age 17. He couldn't have been happy to join. You just have to look at his Army photo in which Sergeant Hennigan is wearing a maroon beret and the broadest smile you've ever seen. On June 30th, his unit was ambushed in Afghanistan. He was just 20 years old. Air Force Captain David Winensky and Air Force First Lieutenant Joel Gentz served together in elite combat rescue squadrons based at Nellis Air Force Base. Captain was, you know, this is what getting rid of earmarks, see what it does? Captain Winensky went by Captain Whiz. His weapons school instructor said they often found the roles reversed and that Captain Whiz often was the one teaching the teacher. He wanted to fly helicopters since he was a little boy, since his grandfather took him to Air Force Base. He lived his dream. Lieutenant Gentz enrolled in ROTC to fly rescue missions. His high school cross-country coach said the harder the task before him, the harder Lieutenant Gentz would work. When he ran the Boston Marathon with more than 20,000 other participants, he finished in the top 3 or 4% of those running. These two were among the most highly decorated and trained men at Air Force Base at Nellis. The rescue mission's motto is, "These things we do, that others may live." That's the code Captain Winitsky and Lieutenant Gantz and 5 other airmen were living when they were killed while on a medevac mission in Afghanistan on June 9th. Captain Winitsky was just 31 years old. Lieutenant Gantz was just 25. Army Staff Sergeant David Self's troop commander said, "Sergeant Self always led from the front. When his troops faced a tough mission or felt tired, he was always there. On the day he left us, May 16th, he was training his replacements when his Stryker hit an IED. He was just days away from coming home from Afghanistan. Sergeant Self was what a U.S. service member is at core, selfless. He was just 29. Today we also honor here in Boulder City Shane Patton. Shane was a Navy SEAL who was killed in 2005 when the helicopter he was flying was shot down during a rescue mission over Afghanistan. I played baseball with his uncle. His dad, Shane's dad, was a SEAL. I hope he's here today. Shane is the first person I thought about when I heard the news about Osama bin Laden. That was, of course, done by Navy SEALs. He's buried here at this cemetery. Shane was just 22. Memorial Day is for those patriots who protect and perfect our Union. It's also for those who came here before them, those who fortified the freedoms for which today's bravest go to battle. Memorial Day is for the veterans who lived full lives after their service, and service members who never lived to become veterans. Though our hearts break, our resolve does not bend. And we recognize that the service of an American soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, or Coast Guardsman carries a special burden. Our troops fight not only for the victory of one military or of one country's citizens. Americans fight for the freedom, the security, and the human rights of all Earth's people. We're humbled by their selfless sacrifice. And as we hope that their sacrifice and courage are a catalyst for peace and not more war, we eagerly await the safe return of the fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, husbands, wives, and friends still serving in Afghanistan, Iraq, and around the world. Before he went to West Point, General Douglas MacArthur learned about service in America's Old West. At the end of his career, after having earned 2 Medals of Honor, he spoke of 3 pillars of public service that echoed in his head and in his heart: duty, honor, and country. When we've lost those who gave everything for these values, the responsibility then falls to us. It's our duty to thank and to think of them. It's our honor to have known them. And it is our distinct privilege to live in the country that, with their lives, they help keep free.
Okay, we're going to get through this one way or another. At this time, I introduce Senator Dean Heller to speak.
I have to admit there aren't too many mics I'm afraid of. First of all, thank you very much for allowing me to be here today. It's a pleasure, it's an honor to spend time with you. Thank you for being here. I know it means a lot to the families and to those loved ones that have been left behind. A couple weeks ago, I had an opportunity to go to the Red Rock National Conservation Area, where they dedicated the Defending Freedom Memorial. Has a name of all the lists of those in Afghanistan and Iraq that have died in combat. It was an incredible event. I know a lot of you here, I've noticed a lot of you here that were present 2 weeks ago. I thought he was going after that guitar, going to do some entertaining. But there were a couple of names. There were a couple of names on that rock that stood out. We'll get there. We'll get there. One of the names on that rock was Specialist Thomas F. Lyons of the U.S. Army. Thomas Lyons, my wife was his Sunday school teacher. Very close to the family, a great brother, knew him well, knew the family well. And it was great to see them at Red Rock that day, at that dedication service. Then there was Sean Ward. Sean Ward's another young man. And I know that Senator Reed went through the list of some of these names, so I'm trying to move to some that mean a lot to me. And I know anybody who goes there, some of these names, of course, mean a lot to you. But Sean Ward grew up in Lovelock, Nevada, central Nevada, for those who haven't been there. He was the quarterback of his high school football team. He led their team to the 1A state championship. And the next year died in a helicopter crash. I was at his service on that high school football field where he won that state championship. And so was the rest of the town. To be part of that, to let the parents know that Sean would never be forgotten. One name that's not on that rock that will be added next year is Sergeant Hermogino. I know that Senator Reed spoke a little of him. I talked to his parents, his mother, this month. He died on May 9th. And she said he was a good son, that he was a good father, and that he was a good husband, that he was a good soldier. He loved ROTC in high school, basic high school, and he loved fast cars, but he especially liked dirt bikes. He's a real name, he's a real face, and he's a real hero. A recent survey says that 90%, more than 90% of Americans believe that America's soldiers are the best and the bravest in the world. And more than 60% are going to take time today to honor American service members. This is the highest number of Americans in recorded history who will devote time with their families to honor the military on this Memorial Day.